Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a podcast community where music and curiosity come together through interesting conversations with the music makers of our world. I'm your host, Jason English. You can find Curious Goldfish in all the major podcast and social media platforms. And of course, we have all of our content on our website, curiousgoldfish.com. Hey, Tim, appreciate your time.
No sweat. Thanks for having me on the Sunday after Americana Fest.
Yeah, that's stamina after that week, right?
Luckily for me, I'm not a drinker. I'm not a partier, so
Right.
I can handle it. I do have a full house of guests.
Oh, you do?
Which
Okay.
I've been getting up and making smoothies for.
Okay.
And, yeah, I got one done today, and then headed downtown to talk to you.
All right. Well, thank you. Any good stories from the house guests this week?
They're Irish. That should say it all. No, they're amazing. They're a young couple named Shane and Jane, and I met Jane Pompless in Dublin when I toured there earlier this year in January, and we met, improvised a little bit together, and then she came to Folk Alliance and improvised my showcase set there.
Okay.
And then she wanted to come to visit Nashville, and I said, you should come during Americana Fest.
Oh, nice.
And, they're researching the idea of maybe moving here or something like that. And she's a really talented musician. Jane Pompless is her name. She's Sweet Jane, Jayne, on the old Instagram. But she really talented and came down and hung out at the house. And we played, again, my showcase set here at Analog at Hutton Hotel was with her.
Okay.
And she's just amazing. And I think from my old days as a street musician,
Yeah.
I'm able to play music with anybody as long as they're intuitive and able to improvise. I really go for that. Like there's, a lot of my comrades or my associates at work, my coworkers, my colleagues. That's a better word. Like my colleagues at work would be like, "Why you should rehearse and get your stuff dialed in," and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I do like to improvise and fly and have musical moments that are new and raw every night.
Yeah.
And that's just the way. I guess that makes me a folk musician, basically, in a sense.
There's something different about Irish music too, right? Or maybe not Irish music, but the music that Irish people sing. It seems like there's a tension to it,
Yeah, they're a musical nation, and of course our bluegrass and our, is rooted in Scotch-Irish music.
Yeah.
So it is fun to see them interact with American bluegrass musicians and trade songs. Some of the songs that became our standards were purloined from old Irish and Scotch fiddle tunes.
Yeah.
Scots. Yeah. There's the drink, and then there's the people and the culture.
All right. So what could possibly Tim Easton get out of another week of Americana Fest after all these years?
I love to help people. I really do. I love to help and be in service of young songwriters that are coming up and promote them and help them become part of this, because I believe in that. I believe in this young generation coming up that is not using artificial intelligence so much to write their songs, but actually writing songs from their own emotions and their own life experiences. And people were kind to me, and I try to help. I try to do that. So and I live here. So it doesn't cost me any. It can be expensive to go to, say, South by Southwest or Folk Alliance. Both are great, and they're all different. Americana Fest is different yet than those two, and I believe we still hold the song kind of sacred here, and people are into songs and identifying with songs. Yeah. So I'm also on the lookout for a new songwriter that's going to blow my mind. That's because I gotta keep my game going. In a way, it's not a game. It's more I got to keep my inspiration going, and stuff like this really like dials me into like, that's an interesting chord change, or that's
cool.
an interesting song. Or that's a beautiful. I feel this song like. Last night, you and I went to see Max Gomez.
Right.
What a classic, what a talented man, and just it felt like he belonged to all periods of time to me. The storytelling, the songs, the humor. I could tell that he'd told some of those stories before on stage, and I'm of that same cloth or fabric where I have some stories I do repeat, but I try to bring something new or something change with the audience.
Yeah.
We work different nights. The audience is different, and I just, I was really moved by his performance. And then my friend Shannon McNally sang with him, and I get moved by that stuff. I get moved by harmony, you know, and so pretty basic. I'm here to be inspired, just like, that's what I want. That's what I crave.
Well, Max was interesting. That's the first time I've heard him. It sounds like he could be the backdrop of like a chuck wagon, like under a moon and stars. He's from New Mexico. I just picture like out on the open range, some guy singing, and it's that voice.
I'd like to get a hold of him, but I don't know who else speaks coyote. How I'd send a coyote smoke signal to find him. But he's a cool guy.
He's really good. Yeah. All right. So your album came out earlier this year called Find Your Way, right?
Yeah.
It feels kind of like a self-care.
Sure.
Kind of. I guess why that now? Well,
I do have a 1 foot in recovery. I'd say actually both feet in recovery. In my life, tumultuous past of that I'm not embarrassed about, that I can share with my friends still, and I write songs about it. This record is half stories about my life, half personal stories, and half made up stories. I'm really into film and storytelling, so I can make up a story because of the experiences I've had. I can, like the song Little Brother that's on my new record, I've been getting a lot of messages about that song resonating with people, and that's a completely fictional song that really just came through the living room window and onto I know I wanted to write Bangor, Maine into a song. It's a funny expression. It's in a great song by Roger Miller. It's a place. And also, I'm really into writing into my songs a place I want to go and hang out.
Okay.
So it's like, I should write more about Hawaii or something. I write a lot about Alaska, and I write a lot about Arkansas and Alaska, which are very similar sounding words.
Yeah.
I notice I have those a lot in there. And, you end up going to these places. And I forget what that question was.
Well, it was the self-care.
Yeah.
Recovery.
I see how I spun out of that. I pivoted. Professional pivoter on that one. Well, it's fine. I actually like to talk about it.
Yeah. You've said that for a bit there, you window shopped with recovery. What does that mean?
Is that what I said? Because I would back up and say that's not what I'm doing. I'm not window shopping.
Well, I think I had
1 foot in, and then I had two. And I would say like I have 2 feet in.
Yeah. You said You said I think there was a period of time where you window shopped recovery.
Oh yeah, there was a period of time when I dabbled.
Yeah.
I was sober curious, as the kids call it today.
Right.
And that's not my story now. And that dabbling and that being curious, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, that actually caused me more turmoil in my life than I would have imagined. And
why is that, do you think?
Because you're not committing to a way of life that makes you happy and that brings you peace of mind. And so, and I know what it's like, to this day to waver on things like that. But I'm just trying to write my life into some stories. And I did go through a divorce about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
So that's still, because we have a daughter, that the reality of that, which is very, very good today. I'm really close with my ex-wife, and her husband is amazing, and we're all together and able to hang out, and it's beautiful. And I'm really lucky because that's not the story that you get often in a broken marriage. And for a long time, I didn't take my own responsibility in that. That's really, there's that kind of revolution in the mind, that kind of recovery of like not taking your responsibility in what went wrong with a relationship or a working relationship, or it could be anything. And so accepting that responsibility helped. I journal, I write, I use the song for cathartic reasons.
Sure.
And I try to encourage others to do that. I'm going to teach songwriting to veterans in Joshua Tree coming up.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So hanging out with those guys will really and women will put your mind in a different place to where you are. You're like, okay, you're going to be okay. You know? They're kind of taking themselves out of the game in such record numbers. It's astonishing, and many podcasts and TV shows in the government should be devoted to just like let's ask ourselves why these young people are taking themselves out
Sure.
and don't feel seen.
Yeah.
So I just try to. I got hired by a place in Joshua Tree called Mill Tree to go write with veterans, and civilians write too. I like teaching is something that happens later on in a songwriter's life. If you're lucky, you get to. I go to Alaska to do it, and I've done it in over in Spain a little bit. I've gone into schools in Spain, and I've done it in Arkansas, and I've done it once in Joshua Tree with veterans already, and I'm going back to do that again.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
At what point were you like, okay, I have to get sober? Like, what was the bottom for you?
I think all points of like since my 20s probably. But it's just whether you do it or not. You can sit there and think to yourself like, "Ooh, I got to change my path," but you can think that all you want until you ask for help. Yeah. I really believe that. Like, it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
So I've had a couple of different. I've bounced off the bottom a couple of times emotionally, and with the law, stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty far in the past now, but yeah. I can go back to it in my mind real easy because I'm a chronic journaler, so I can go back and Find Your Way, the title song of this new record, is about an experience that happened 10 years ago that did really alter my path.
Oh gosh.
But, my short-term memory or long-term memory or whatever is still washed out, and I will still forget that guy entered that place, so I have to be careful to this day, and I try to be a service to people that are struggling, and I try to, not just in recovery, but also just in art and making art.
Why do you think it's hard for musicians and artists to take care of themselves? Is it the big ego?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You have a huge ego and a low self-esteem combined, or something. There's that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's a recipe for trouble.
Yeah.
And then there's the stereotypes that go along with like, oh, I've got to live this life and cut loose. And in a certain sense, it is important in your young life to go out and see the world and do things and hang out. And you're invariably going to end up in a bar,
sure.
Especially if you're in Ireland, you're playing songs and you're getting paid in Guinness.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help your creativity as much as you'd think. Sure, you have to have life experiences so that you're able to write about it. I will say that is the main thing. When I, my brothers taught me blues and stuff like Dylan, and they pointed me backwards towards Doc Watson and then Mississippi John Hurt, and I've learned that stuff. But you can't maybe turn it into a song when you're 18 or 24
because you don't
have really life experiences.
Context,
And us roots Americana people, we like our songwriters to be properly grizzled. We want them to be too cute at first. We need them like 10 years of like hitting it,
some wrinkles and
something. It's just more, whatever. There's amazing young people making beautiful music, and not everybody has to go my path. And
right.
I was a street musician in Europe for 7 years, and I did work for Guinness at a point, or Hash or something in Spain, that's the way it was. So I did get those life experiences. I did hitchhike all around, and get on a lot of trains and a lot of trains of thought, and then a lot of lost trains of thought, as Max Gomez pointed out last night.
That's right.
And it just happens that this life led to me being able to write songs or write, and I took in a lot of literature and film along this, and I still do, so the more that comes in, the more easier it is to spit it out when you need to, when you write and stuff. And living in Nashville, of course, like, my UPS man is a songwriter. Everybody's a songwriter here.
That's incredible.
Yeah. The plumber is a total blues man.
Well, I think also we're sort of trained to always, look out for others, put others before ourselves, etc. And you kind of forget yourself a little bit. And I think like the song "Everything You're Afraid Of." If I could just read a couple of things, this is pretty cool because you're like, basically everyone you lied to, starting with yourself.
Yeah.
Every broken promise, starting with yourself. Every broken heart, starting with yourself. Remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. So it's almost like promises are broken, hearts are breaking, all those things that could be external, but don't forget about yourself, and I think that's a really good message.
Well, that's in the realm of finger pointing songs.
Yeah.
Like, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's, it's the cliche or the expression is, if you're pointing one finger, there's four fingers pointing back at you. I wrote that song because there's a friend of mine that was dying unnecessarily, and he was just going into a dark place, and he couldn't reach him, and he really couldn't hear me, and I, we triggered each other, and it wasn't working. So I wrote down the words that I wanted to say to him in a song. But I was also talking to myself and also talking to the multitudes of anybody that's in a place of fear.
Sure.
Because the fear, that's the problem. The fear motivates you to do dangerous things to yourself. And that's, in a way, that goes back to your former question about why artists, these music business conferences are recipes for disaster if you have a big ego, but then you look around, you see, oh, I'm not invited, or you feel uninvited, or you feel threatened by all this talent or something, and you end up overcompensating it with alcohol or drugs, and that happens. It's just going to happen. And I personally would like to be part of the Americana Music Association mental health panels and rooms. That's where I find my comfort at Folk Alliance. I love that. I love helping get people into a room to really talk about what they're going through, with a place where you can make, it borders on complaining, but you're really just venting like the frustration you're having, and you don't have a place to say it, and you feel like you're being a crybaby if you say it too much. So it's good to get to a place and just spit it out and like leave it behind, try to get an acceptance about it and move on. It really helps. Otherwise, people like they quit early, just being creative because they think that it's about a monetary thing, And these music business conferences are essentially, it's where art and commerce meet, and are gonna they're gonna butt heads. It's just gonna happen whenever you put art and commerce together. That's all there is to it. It's in every facet of art. Except for poetry. Poetry doesn't have to worry about commerce. No.
You dabbled in poetry.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, I put out poetry books, and I use blurb.com because it's like this amazing site that I'll just drop the poems into a book, and they print me books.
Oh, cool.
And so there's nobody that, there's no middle.
No one's telling you if it's good or not.
It's the Otis Gibbs theory. Otis Gibbs runs a great show on YouTube and a great podcast, and he really believes in the smallest filter you can put in between artist and the consumer of the art, or the recipient of the art, is like take all the filters out. And that with Blurb, I can just drop a bunch of poems into a file, and they'll get a cover together, and
that's neat. Just
do it myself. I'm not the best graphic designer in the world, but you know what? You just do it, and then you order 20 copies or whatever. Maybe they can get to order 20 more, and 30 more, and then all of a sudden you're ordering 100 copies. And it says on the back of my poetry book, it says, if you want to hide all your secrets and fears, just put them in a book of poetry. That way you're sure no one will ever see them. So, and I use that. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Because let's face it, it's not like this. No one got into poetry for the dough. And if they did, that's really funny. And it's the old joke. It's like, hey mommy, I want to be a poet when I grow up. And mom says, you can't do both. You could say that for a musician. You could say it for a lot of things.
I'm not saying that having a podcast is like being an artist or a poet, but I do everything here. So I pick who I talk to, I produce everything, and there is no filter, which I love, because it's like, if anyone sees this, they see this as sort of the best representation of like what I want to talk about and who I want to talk about, and hopefully they'll find something inspiring or interesting. And if they don't, like, whatever, I can't control that. But that's why I like doing this. Yeah,
I think there's a reason there's millions of podcasts now, because we like to talk to each other about real things that are going on.
Yeah.
And I have a great friend named Matt the electrician, and he's my sound when we both travel a lot. He's a great artist from Austin, Texas. And we often talk to each other as we're on the road going somewhere. He's going this way, I'm going that way. And when we're done with our chat, sometimes we say, that's a good podcast. Like, trying to be honest with each other And of course, in our minds, we have a podcast that we'd like to start. Mine's called The Room Above the Club.
Okay.
Which any artist that's hearing this, a traveling songwriter, knows what I'm talking about. Like sometimes the room above the club is a lovely, clean room like this room we're in now. Sometimes the room above the club looks like there was a murder scene that happened in there, and there's just like cigarette butts and like a roach in the tub, and there's like a wine bottle stain. You're like, holy shit! Like really, you're inviting someone to stay here? But that's the comedy of the road. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned poetry and secrets. There was a quote that you had in some interview that I love. You said, "Practice radical honesty because secrets will take you down."
I said that?
I think so.
I stole that from someone. It's no way.
It's too good.
That's an old adage of recovery. The secrets will take you down.
Okay.
And let's face it, we all have something that we're just like is. I believe actually a lot of the world's struggles and a lot of the world's darkness and pain comes from unresolved childhood trauma. That's just a feeling I have that people, and you can see there's been a shift. It's a slow moving shift. It's just like everything else in this world. You think, oh, the world is screwed right now or something, but really there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good work and helping others.
Yeah.
And they're just not, they're not talking about it on Instagram or whatever. They're doing it. So there's a lot of beautiful things happening, but when it comes down to your basic interactions at the supermarket or whatever, and someone's like in a dark spot, I feel it around me. I live in Madison, Tennessee, and there's some struggle going on there, and I can feel it when I'm around. And certainly homelessness and addiction, which is an issue everywhere just about on the planet. We don't own that. That's a worldwide thing. But my neighborhood, there's a woman named Lori Green. She runs an organization called safepaw.org. It's Southern Alliance for People and Animal Welfare. Because oftentimes a homeless person will have, or unhoused person will have a pet with them, right?
Sure.
So tomorrow I'll go in and do the 10th or 11th recording, a benefit for them. We used to record a Bob Dylan song every year and use it to raise awareness for her and the work she does. Because it's the whole working local thing. It's like, I'm not Mother Teresa. I can't help the starving people of Calcutta. I can't help the starving people of Memphis. Yeah. I can maybe help my own neighborhood out a little bit and try to support her and bring awareness to the work she does. And she is out on the streets doing it. And I don't think I'm capable. I don't think I'm a strong enough person to actually be on the streets and do the hard work and deliver. It's not my role in this. Darren Bradbury is another songwriter of much greatness who kind of like took the record deal he was given, did some things, decided he wanted to go help really be on the streets like Woody Guthrie and walk the walk.
Jeez.
So Darren Bradbury has this thing called The Beat, and he's in Madison too. He's helping people, and he does it continuously, and it's brought immense kind of a glow to him, and he's still writing songs and everything, but there are people out there that are better at getting right into the nitty gritty of it all. Good. And my role right now is I record a song. We're going in to do it tomorrow for this year's Safe. It's safpaw.org. If you're listening to this, look up that organization. Toss $5 into the can if you want, because it is going to a really beautiful cause and a really worthwhile cause.
Awesome. So on a related topic, it's an election year. This seems like people aren't...
This year?
It seems like in past election cycles, it just seems like everybody is saying everything and taking a stand. I think there's pockets of that, but does it feel different this year than previous years?
It does.
It does, yeah.
Absolutely. I just really like to encourage people to participate.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to believe that there are undecided people. That's just a foreign concept. I wish that all Americans of all stripes could go to the third world one time and stand in a house that has dirt floors and say, we have it pretty good here. We have it really good. Let's not F it up.
Yeah.
Let's actually work towards a solution instead of trying to go more divisive. It's not foreign to anybody that's listening to this, or really anybody that's paying attention. The division thing is propelled by those in power, and they use it to help kind of keep us going. Like George Carlin has a great bit about it. It's like the upper class and the middle class are just, they get so in fear by the lower class that they'll just do whatever they got to do to keep what they have. And it's like, we're not reaching out to each other and being real with each other. And, not all of us are in that boat, but.
So back to your travels. I'm curious, because someone told me that you were busking with Beck.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Like, so that is true. Like what, how, obviously, how'd that happen? And like, what's your memory of that?
It's pretty clear. It's 90, 91, Gulf War's going on. I'm an au pair in Paris. People let me take care of their kids at that time, and I'm a street musician. And I met this amazing family, and they had 2 children, a 14 and a 10-year-old, and they had an apartment that I lived in. So I had an apartment in Paris for a full year.
Jeez.
A friend named James Rowe. He's a Los Angeles man. He's still there now. He was in his young traveling phase, as I was. Young 20s, reading poetry, hanging out in Paris. And I had that apartment, and I met him at Shakespeare and Company bookstore, and he said, I got a friend coming to town. His name's Beck. He's passing through town. He's in Germany now, hanging out with his grandfather, who's a famous artist, Fluxus movement. Al Hansen is his name. He made sculptures out of cigarette butts. He was just out there, but like friends with fame, it was just art fame stuff, right? So Beck's this guy, I don't know who Beck is. He comes into town. He's got a Gibson with a shoestring strap. He's clearly, within 24 hours, I'm like, this guy's different. He understands something that I don't. And that was like all of Woody Guthrie. He had it all in him already, at the young age of maybe 21. I think I was 24. And he was focused and good, and already wrote songs that were really like, whoa, this is different. And we would busk together in Beaubourg or up on the steps of Montmartre, the Sacré-Cœur. And yeah, I could tell right away. And he wrote an essay about it in Annie Leibowitz's book, American Music, or American Musicians. It might be called American Music. It's a photo coffee table book that has essays by a few guys in it and a few women. Beck has an essay in there where he talks about that experience of staying at my apartment. And, it was just a grand time. And within a couple of years, he sent me a cassette, and it had Loser on it. And I took it around to all my friends, and I was like, this is different. Like that was the first time we heard hip hop melded with folk music, really. That was, jeez. So it was new, at that time. And we were all like, this is different. And then a year later, that was a hit. And his career launched into, he was definitely, it was already a formed folk artist that was not, he was already, it wasn't like he popped out of nowhere and just decided to make hip hop. He was learning and studying art through his young days, and deserves every bit of success that he got, because he's a hard worker and very focused. And
have you reconnected with him?
Not really. Not really. I did a whole talk about it on Otis Gibbs' podcast or a YouTube show, and we've crossed paths since, for sure. But that was years ago, even. This is 91 when we met.
Gosh,
so yeah, we were young men in Paris. We went to Jim Morrison's grave, and met some girls from Iceland, brought them back to my apartment, and played them music, and they left. Cooked them spaghetti, started playing, they left. That's it.
Usually it's the other way around. If you have a guitar.
Yep, we were too weird for them. It was one step beyond. I wonder where they are, and if they ever put it together themselves. Possibly, but. Yeah, that's just that's one of the stories of my European travels or street musician life that I was able to share this week. Carrie Baker, the publicist, who's a retired publicist, who wrote a book, Down on the Corner. It's a book about busking and street music, and I'm in that book, and I I was on a panel this week at Americana about it, and I will get nostalgic. I noticed like during that panel, I was like, oh, this is a panel where I could talk forever about something that I truly not only love but understand. And I was on the streets, busking and trying to make a living, and it definitely shaped my musical direction, and also still to this day, I think about it, or I get nostalgic about it.
Do you ever feel like doing it again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I see a certain spot,
Yeah.
a certain pedestrian area that's like acoustically good, you're like, oh man, we can crush it here.
Let's crush it.
Yeah, like it's like I could, because back in the day it would be like I'm going to turn their money into my lunch money or my beer money.
Yeah.
But now it's like it would just be for fun.
You're right.
But can you imagine like when you're really young and I was like, I can't write songs yet. I love this music. I love Mississippi John Hurt. I love Bob Dylan. I love Woody Guthrie or Blind Lemon Jefferson or music, Townes Van Zandt and songwriters. But I can't write. I'm writing things that are a little bit trite, or I don't have it in me yet. So I was a street musician for a while, and that really like laid that foundation down. And I encourage it for anybody. So that first time you get there and you make like $50 or something, you're like rolling in it. You're like, wait, I don't have to work in a cubicle. I don't have to do that. And you put that together, and it's not like you're doing it for money, but the first time you can survive. And I don't know what musicians had this. Is it David Byrne or somebody? It's like, might have been Ted Nugent. No, I'm just kidding. It was just like, if you can play guitar and write a song, you can feed yourself. And that is I don't know who said that. If anybody knows, let me know.
Well, what's interesting about that is the people I talk to, a lot of them are just, independent, up and coming, new, trying to grow, and they still have day jobs, just to kind of pay the bills and then do this on the side. And at some point, it's kind of like you kind of have to kind of go there, right?
Yeah.
Did you struggle with that decision at all?
No.
This is just what you were committed to it.
Yeah, I was in a band called the Kosher Spears, and we were like a skiffle band. We had a washtub bass and a washboard, and they were my college roommates. And it was like one day I remember we got paid $150. That was $50 a man, and we're like, oh, those guys got jobs. Those guys,
Yeah.
I basically entered the life of vagabonding at that point. Or the thing is I'm not really great at it, the commerce part. I'm just not. Okay, I've had some great successes, and really have been really lucky that certain record companies took me on, or publishing companies, super lucky. But I let them down in a haze of booze and drugs and poor performance, or mediocre performance, which is in a way worse than a poor performance. It's just like not respecting the craft of like, you got a stage, you got a thing, here you are. I kind of went into a space of self-centered fear, and I was in there for a while, and it just didn't work out. I didn't sell enough records, and I don't look back at it with regret. I look back at it as I better learn something from this. So today I'm fortunate that good things still, I get to go do cool things. And I just got a song in a movie this week, and it was like, it's so enjoyable to do that, because that is one way I will say that us songwriters and musicians can still eke out a living, because music's free now. It's streamed down to a thing. Yeah, some people are making that work for them too, and good for them. I wish they would teach me how. But I have many buckets catching little driplets of water.
Like you diversify.
I do need a manager. No, I need someone. I've had 12 managers. I'm sorry, but I have screwed up so bad that I could give a seminar on how not to do it. And I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky because I'm a hyper creative. I'm a workaholic, and I apologize to all those managers out there that I let down with my just wanton inability. They say I'm called unmanageable. I'm here to say that I'm doing all right.
You're taking responsibility.
I'm taking responsibility, and I don't mean to giggle about it, because they're still my friend. I have friends out there that they're like, Yeah, you're difficult, and I don't think I'm difficult. I think I'm a hard worker that it forgets to run my ideas by my manager. That's what it is. So luckily, I still have a booking agent. Thank you, Dennis. I'm able to work, and I'm able to work, but film and TV is a way that we really help pay the bills. I have a Patreon page.
Yeah.
I should have said that right away. Because
don't bury the lead.
I completely buried the lead. It's like, I have a Patreon page. Exactly. The manager would be like, you should have said that right away. Yeah. Like, that's so true. It's like, that Patreon page right now pays my mortgage.
No way, really.
And
that's awesome.
And when I even say mortgage, that means I own a home. And so right away, I'm separating myself from your basic. Lots of singer-songwriters out there that are struggling to just pay rent and make ends meet. And so I'm really lucky. That Patreon page, and those are my super fans that want to help me, and I love them. Like, I'm not freaked out by them. They actually write me words of encouragement, and they also tell me things they like or don't like about songs, and or think whatever I'm doing, or something they identified with, or something they don't understand, and it gets me working on material. And there are a lot of things that I give just to them, So it's Patreon. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
That is
model. It's a good model.
Yeah, it's been going on since there were troubadours working for kings and queens. Sometimes they chop their heads off, though. But instead of just getting like kicked off the label or the roster, you're just like beheading, jaboom. Like, that joke was not good. That gesture's got to go. It's got to go. Also, his mandolin was way out of tune.
All right. So where are you at today as an artist in however context you want to use, and where do you want to be?
Today I'm in a hotel room in Nashville, Tennessee, and I feel pretty good. Where do I want to be? I think happiness is actually more important than any of the stuff.
Yeah.
Any of the, like, I got my guitar's in the shop. It caused me a little stress. I want to get my baby back. Paco, the black Gibson that I had when I lived in Paris.
Oh, wow.
That was named after a deadhead.
Oh, wow.
A deadhead named it when the Dead came through town, and I slept as many hippies as I could on the floor of my flat. That was right around when Beck was there. What do I want for the future? I really, I want to be satisfied with my own art. I think that's really, I'm trying to answer that question and all these questions, like, sincerely. And that's satisfaction, which is elusive. I was just talking about this with the great songwriter Rosa Pullman this morning over coffee. How many albums of mine where I'm 100% satisfied? First of all, I don't listen to them anyways, but probably not 100% satisfied, right? So there's a couple. There's an album called Not Cool, which is the poorest named album of all time.
It's not cool.
Yeah, just, I was like, Birth of the Cool, not cool. And there's a song on it called Not Cool, and if you listen to that song, you would understand what I was getting to there. But okay, missed the mark a little bit. Well, no, I didn't actually. That album, top to bottom, was made by Brad Jones and Robin Eaton. It's got J.D. Simo on guitar, and it's just, I love Sadler Vaden helped out there, John Radford, Joe Fick, the bass player. It was a kind of a quick recording. I love old blues records that are done in one session, like no overdubs, just kind of done. I also like to overdub, but that question was long ago that you asked me.
No, it's good.
Now I'm onto an album that I'm proud of. The thing is satisfaction.
Yeah, happiness and satisfaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have something in common. We both have gone through a divorce. Do you want to fall in love again?
Absolutely. It's more important. I also like my independence, and I like having my place and getting up in the morning and working on stuff. I don't want to be isolated so much that I can't fall in love. And I'm not only do I want to fall in love, I do fall in love, daily, just like everyone else in the world that's being honest. I think really it's just like, oh, this person's really cool. Or you're falling in lust or whatever it is. But do I want to fall in love again? Absolutely, because that's what makes it all worthwhile. And we're here for a short while, and that's really the answer, is like to be able to receive it and be able to give it.
Yeah, that's great. So the theme of this podcast is, Curious Goldfish. It's inspired by Ted Lasso. Did you watch that show?
You know what? I know about it, and I am a soccer player.
Oh, you got to watch it.
But I haven't. Yeah, it's weird. I'll get there.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
It's so anyway, it's just about positivity and curiosity. So, you're basically the epitome of a troubadour, right? You've traveled the world. You've written a ton of songs. You write poetry, all the things. I guess at this point in your life, what are you most curious about?
Oh, great question. What am I most curious about is getting to a place of comfort, and because you're never going to get all the way with music. You might only get I'm using the same notes that Mozart used, and I'm just still working on it and trying to find something. And these are the masters, or Count Basie or Duke Ellington. We're all working with the same, the piano and the guitar. It's the same amount of notes, and I'm curious about that. Wow, it really is infinite. Like, we're never going to get even halfway with that, and I'm curious about that. Like, am I a quarter way? No, right. I try not to go there, but I'm curious about how infinite it is. It's really remarkable, and people are still writing poems and writing books and making films and telling stories using the same language and the same experiences. We repeat patterns. I'm curious about patterns today. Like, I see patterns I see the difficult patterns that I've been through, and perhaps changing those patterns. So I'm curious also about breaking the patterns. And if that means I've got to stay in plank position for 2 minutes every morning, maybe only have 2 cups of coffee instead of 7. No, I'm curious in patterns, and I think happiness is a big one. Like, that really is everything else. If you're happy about, there's so much depression and hardness out there because people are just stuck in a rut. So I like to move around and help others. I'm definitely of service curious.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to put
it. It brings way more satisfaction.
Well, it sounds like you're doing amazing things.
Yeah,
and your music is serving people too. Like, don't forget that, right?
Thank you. Yeah, and being a dad is really a bigger priority than all of that. Like, that 30-minute conversation with my daughter on the way home from school is better than a standing ovation at the Ryman. It's
that's awesome.
It's like we get so far with our family, and you want to get beyond halfway with them. You want to really lean into that. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, it was an honor, Tim. Thanks so much for your time, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, love if you could play a song.
Yeah, I'd love to play a song.
Yeah, appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the 2024.
Yeah, how about Everything You're Afraid Of?
I love that. Yeah.
All right,
let's do it. All right.
Hey friends, this is Tim Easton. You're on the Curious Goldfish, and this is a song I wrote called Everything You're Afraid Of. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right now. Just called a friend today, and it'll be all right. You are an engine falling out of the sky. Kick on the air brakes, take a deep breath, stop asking why. You don't have to have a shame for the games you played. Take all that pain, fear, useless hatred away. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Kick out the anger and unlock the chains. Ask yourself how you can help someone else who's in pain today. Send a meaningful prayer of sympathy to all your enemies. Call a friend, ask them how they're getting on, and mean it. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Then play guitar. Yeah. Open up any window, open up any door. Let the light inside you like you never had before. Then get down on your knees, right down on those dirty knees. Do not fight, ask the light for the might to help you find some peace. Think of everyone you hurt, starting with yourself. Everyone you lied to, starting with yourself. Every broken promise, starting with yourself. Every broken heart, starting with yourself. Every family torn apart, starting with yourself. Every time you turned away from everything you're afraid of, turn and face everything you're afraid of. Turn and face everything you're afraid of. Turn and face everything you're afraid of. All right, see you around the neighborhood.